I'm a little late to it, but I finally got around to watching Rocketman. I went to go see Rocketman last night. And I've been hearing these great, wonderful, amazing things about it. I thought the trailers have looked very intriguing. I love Taron Egerton as an actor. It's a really well-rounded cast. You've got Richard Madden in there. Is it Richard Madden?
Yeah.
Richard Madden in there. Jamie Bell's in there. Bryce Dallas Howard's in there. Terrific cast, all the kind of stuff, of course, based around the life and some of the key events in the life of Elton John and the music of Elton John. And I'll tell you what, it's a good movie. This is a good movie. I've just seen two really good. I'm not even a big fan of musical biopics. I'm not a big fan of biopics about musicians because essentially, to me, they're all the same. Kid, incredible talent, prodigy, finds success, falls into drugs and alcohol and destructive behavior, finds redemption near the end. I just described almost every musical biopic ever made. So I'm not really a big fan of that stuff normally. But you know what? Last year with Bohemian Rhapsody, really enjoyed Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't know that I liked Rocketman quite as much as I enjoyed Bohemian Rhapsody because sometimes their choice, this one is a musical. Bohemian Rhapsody wasn't a musical. This is a musical movie. And sometimes some of their song choices with certain events didn't quite fit for me and what have you, but it's anchored by brilliant performances, particularly Taron Egerton. Now, if we were in December right now, I'd be saying this kid should be getting some Oscar buzz for this movie. It's a little too early to call that, but if we were in December, I would. Richard Madden is fabulous in this movie. Absolutely fabulous in this movie, as is Bryce Dallas Howard, who plays Elton John's mom and stuff like that, and Jamie Bell, who plays Elton John's best friend and lifelong songwriting partner, was absolutely fabulous in the movie as well. It's a really solid film. I don't know that it's going to end up in my top 10 of the year, to be honest with you, but it is a well-told story. It's an emotional story. It is a toe-tapping story with the music and stuff like that. And I'll say this too, for Elton John. There's a real courage in this because, you know, Elton does not come across well in this movie. And I think for him to allow that and to be a little bit more raw and a little bit more honest, I think that was very refreshing. Because sometimes we'll see these biopics where the estate will allow certain darker corners to come out on film. There's usually a little bit of, let's call it, cleaning involved. We walked out of that movie and like Anne's first reaction was, wow, Elton John was a real dick. It's like, and that's how he really let it be portrayed very raw and all that kind of stuff. And as a matter of fact, you know, I was pointing out Richard Madden here, who plays his manager and kind of a quote unquote villainous figure in the movie. I'll tell you what, every scene involving him where he was maybe acting like a little bit of a dick, I was like, but he was right. Like there's this scene where Elton's, I'm not going to give away the context or anything, but Elton's having a little bit of a breakdown. Like, no, I'm not going to the show. And Richard Madden gets out of the car, tracks him down, and he gets in his face, says, don't you ever put me in that position again. We're running a business here. And he was completely right. And Elton John's all mad and grabs him by the collar, and Richard Madden punches him in the face and goes, don't ever lay hands on me. And I'm like, he might be acting like a little bit of a dick, but he's completely right. I mean, and I found that through most of, and there's this scene that you see in the trailer where he's like, oh, go ahead, kill yourself with drugs. I'll still be collecting my 20%. It's like, but he's absolutely right. So he's kind of a villainous figure, but at the same time, I'm like, but he's the sane, rational one in this scenario. And they really do a great job in the film, Rob, of painting these shades of gray. The villain of it, or the antagonist, if you will, in the film is not a mustache-twirling evil guy per se. The hero is not, oh, you're just rooting for him the whole time. No, they don't do it that way. They take a really balanced approach to it. I thought there was a brutal honesty to the movie. There were some decisions and pacing issues and some song selections in certain places, and sometimes the movie dragged a little bit and all that kind of stuff. But overall, I found it really enjoyable. They even play some songs in there that I didn't even realize were Elton John songs, right? So there were a couple of songs they played that I didn't even realize were his. So overall, a very enjoyable movie. If you were thinking about seeing Rocketman and haven't seen it yet and you're still trying to decide, I do recommend you give it a go? Like I know you had a busy weekend, so you didn't have a chance to see it. But where's your anticipation level for this?
I've always loved Elton John. I really want to see the film. I mean, somebody described it. Kevin Rubio, my friend Kevin Rubio, who made Troops, described it as the Elton John version of All That Jazz. And I'm like, well, I'm in, because All That Jazz is one of my favorite films of all time.